Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another edition of the Clinic Growth Secret Show, where we teach you how to get more patients, make more profit, and keep them as long as humanly possible. We've got an incredible guest here today, and I'm super excited to just give you guys an intro to him. Before we get into the value, as always, if you get value from today's show, we make you laugh, we make you think about your business in a unique way. Make sure you hit that share button. We do not grow by paid ads. We only grow organically. That means when you share, we grow. You don't share, we don't grow. So we can't get this message to more people and help more clinicians and ultimately help change the healthcare system. And so today, our guest, guys, is a fucking trailblazer in the industry. And I don't say that lightly. And you're about to hear from someone who knows how to scale practices like wildfire. And so, guys, just listen to this shit before we get started. So he opened his clinic with 400 prepaid appointments and went on to hit 1.2 million collections his first year, 5.5 million within the first 4 years. And within that, if you do the math, 5.5 million, that's $458,000 per month on average, all 12 months of the year. He's on pace to do 6.6 million this year. And so you might be wondering if we got Bruce Wayne on the show. Okay, but it's not Batman. We've got Dr. Josiah Fitzsimmons with us here today. Welcome, brother.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Always, man. And so let's get into it. I mean, these guys are wondering right now, okay, you launched a business with more prepaid appointments that a lot of clinics get in 1 year. You weren't even open yet. We got to talk about that. What happened there? How did that happen?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I went to chiropractic school, I quickly realized they don't teach you anything about running a business. Thankfully, before I got there, I went to this doctor who was a chiropractor, and he said, you can be an entrepreneur and a doctor. You should go be a chiropractor. Because at that point, I thought I wanted to be an orthopedic surgeon. And so when I got to chiropractic school, I was like, okay, well, how do I learn this business stuff? Quickly learn they're not teaching it at school. And so I went to a couple of conferences, and there was these doctors that I thought were pretty successful. I said, hey, can I shadow you? Can I ask questions? What are you doing? And everyone was always super willing to accommodate. Well, quickly, I realized a lot of these doctors, do these weekend screening events, and they would always need help. And so one doctor flew me out about a couple months into chiropractic school, and I did an event for him, and I signed up 99 appointments for him in 2 days. And he's like, what did you do? And he's like, that is incredible. Usually I sign up 15 people, and you signed up almost 100 people in 2 days. And so he ended up telling all of his friends, and literally the next 3 years while I was in chiropractic school, I got flown over 50 different clinics. My son was born. He went on over 20 flights for free, coming with me. My wife came with me and did all these screening events for doctors. And that's really where I learned how to really communicate. And so as soon as I graduated from Palmer in February, I joined all the local chambers. I was in 7 different chambers, and I went to every single networking event, every single screening event that I could find. And so in only 4 months' time, we had scheduled over 400 prepaid appointments. These people all actually put deposits down. Some of them were putting deposits down 3 months out before we ever even opened.
All from just becoming a wicked good at screenings. That was your whole thing.
That's all I did before I opened. Yeah.
Like the Alex Hormozi gym launch, you go fill the gym before it opens, but with chiropractic, that's what we got on here today, folks. I told you this guy, it might be a little bit of Batman wizardry after all, That's exceptional. You got these 400 pre-booked appointments. They come in, you do 1.2 million in your first year, and then you end up taking that same business to 5.5 million in revenue by year 4. And here's the thing, though, is you were doing that out of 1,800 square feet, 1,800, not even 2,000 square feet. I mean, talk about utilizing space. Like, what was that process like, right? And some of these people are like, hey, man, if I'm going to do 5.5 million, I better have 10,000 square feet. You're doing out of 1,800. How did you manage that?
Yeah, really, that was part of that great process that I had with going to those 50 clinics before I ever opened. I was able to see what are doctors doing that working well, what are doctors not doing, that's working well. I mean, we consistently still to this day, before our shift opens, we don't unlock the door right until we open at 7 a.m. or 9 a.m. We usually have between 15 and 25 people waiting at our door every single day that we open, every single shift. And so as we grew so fast in such a small amount of square footage, we had to very quickly adapt to maximize, because I signed a 5-year lease, and I was seeing 500 people a week within 6 months of being open. Within 2 years of being open, I was over 1,000 people a week. And so we had to rapidly figure out efficiencies. We have an EHR that has a calling module that automatically checks them into rooms, calls them back to rooms. I had to figure out, work with compliance experts to make my notes as streamlined as possible so that could be efficient. Was really big into different techniques and protocols to get the best results. but in a very, efficient manner. We really got our scheduling down from a systematic standpoint where we block scheduled so that appointments of the same type were back to back. So our doctors, me and the staff, were very, very efficient. We had a whole radio system in the office. If a room didn't get filled, within a few seconds, we would make sure a staff fills that room very, very rapidly. And so, yeah, I mean, at the core, we're trying to provide the very best care possible, but not be restrained, by our capacity. And so these are just all these little things here and there that just added up, with paperwork being done ahead of time, online paperwork, barcode scanning in, the patient setting themselves up in the adjusting room. Like I wouldn't even go into a room. We still don't even go into a room unless the patient has already grabbed face paper, laying face down on the table, scanned in, ready to go. We just skip them. So it's just part of our whole efficiency process, where we make things very, very smooth.
Incredible. But so the people listening are going to easily have one of a few questions. The first of many is how many docs does it take to run that operation? If you don't mind sharing a little bit under the hood for us, because I mean, you could be seeing 1,000 people a week yourself, right? Some people might think that, but what does that look like?
So yeah, so when we got to 1,000 a week, we had only 3 doctors,
Wow.
me and two other doctors. Yeah, and so now we have 9 doctors, 9 chiropractors in our clinic, but then 3 of them don't do patient care anymore. So I've elevated. I haven't seen patients myself for over 3 years, and then we have 2 of our other lead doctors that are more involved with our leadership team in other parts of the business.
It's amazing. What do you think? You've seen, and you've obviously built your own clinic to a good size, a massive size. I mean, faster than most people will ever build any business in terms of the same industry, right? What do you think is that main thing, though? I mean, I think it's more than marketing, retention, conversion, sales, team training, efficiencies. Like, what was that unfair advantage you had that you really felt catapulted and gave you the ability to scale a business to this size?
Yeah, it's a really great question because I've been asked that question, a lot over the years. And for me, I really boiled it down to is really my mindset behind how I do things. And so, growing up, I was one of 9 kids, grew up on food stamps, slept on an air mattress, come from a very low income family. But then when I got to high school, I realized no one was going to help me pay for college. And so I put the work, effort, and energy. And I was like, the only way I'm going to go to college, paid for is if I can get a scholarship. I started getting good at sports. I was good, but I was never the best player on the team. But after my sophomore year, I literally just dedicated myself to football, everything I could, live, breathe, nutrition, exercise, you name it, to figure it out. By the end of my junior year, I had a full ride Division I scholarship. And that really allowed my mindset. It's like, if I put in the work, if I put in the energy, if I work smart and hard, I can figure out anything that I want, and I can be successful in any area of my life. And so I've just tried to apply that same overarching mindset of like, what all do I need to know? What all do I need to do? And then I just go about doing the work, and nothing is beneath me. A lot of my mom's side of the family is farmers. I grew up scraping pig pens, for 50 cents, and so I realized, there's nothing that you can't do, really, if you put your mindset to it, you figure out how to do it. Like I said, you work smart and you work hard. It's really just a matter of time, till success is going to come.
You've had that. You've achieved it very quickly too. I think one of the things in talking to you and the conversations we've had on the show and before the show is you seem to have a little bit of a wizard financial mind. You think about numbers differently. I remember in one of our conversations, you said that for every advertising source I have, I meticulously to a T track the numbers and my target returns. And if I don't hit those, then I would assume we axe them, right? And which your financial mind has led you to have that large of a clinic, but also into your newest venture, the Lucro accounting. And I want to talk about that because I believe that's an opportunity for a lot of people listening in their business, and that we do think about marketing and sales and delivery and fulfillment and retention and all that stuff. But I want to talk to you deeply today about the financial side, because I think that there's a lot of value in people in terms of the doctors missing that inside of their clinic. There's a lot of arbitrage from the reach. So what do you feel like learning the accounting side has done for you in your business, and how are you applying those strategies to your clients within that new firm?
Yeah. For me, it's always come really naturally. I'm one of those persons that mental math has came really easy. I've always enjoyed math. And so, as I built my clinic and grew it up, doctors throughout the years have always reached out to me. I mean, to this day, I get 4 to 5 doctors a week that just randomly call my clinic, add me on Facebook, start asking me questions. Hey, can I ask you this, that, and the other? And I've always been very open. I've had doctors offer me $10,000 for a 30-minute phone call. I'm like, you don't need to pay me. What's your question? How can I help you? And so forth. Typically, I always say, well, tell me about your numbers. What's your revenue? What's your profit margin? How much are you spending on marketing, on team? And most doctors don't know the data. Even if they do know the data, I'm like, okay, well, what are you doing about this? This is too high. This is too low. And they're like, well, I didn't know that. Should I be spending more on this? Should I be spending less on this? And I quickly realized, a lot of doctors, especially chiropractors, we're hands-on people. We're people. The chiropractic profession as a whole, you're probably not going to find a more solid group of human beings, in a singular profession than the chiropractic profession. But math maybe not be the strong suit, or business might not be the strong suit. So converting that, knowledge and that same thought process, into financial numbers has been very difficult for a lot of doctors that I've tried to communicate with over the years. And so really what I realized is finance has always been the foundation of what I did. If you want to build a house, you got to pour the foundation, lay the concrete, and then you can, put up the frame, and then you can do the drywall, then you can do the roofing, then you can pick out the paint color. But so many doctors, they want to pick out what kind of handle they have on their bathroom, what tile they want in their kitchen, when they haven't even laid a proper foundation for their house yet. And so that's really how I view finances. Any business in the world, the number one thing they have, is a financial plan, a strategic financial analysis on a regular, consistent basis of what's working, what's not working. And that helps dictates and steers the ship, to go faster, to get bigger, to keep growing and scaling. But so many doctors just don't have that financial analysis or financial information to take those steps. So that's something I've really, focused on. And I didn't really even realize, about myself, until I started talking to doctors and realized just most doctors, like I said, don't know the numbers. And if they do know them, is that the right amount? Should I spend more? Should I spend less? What should I do with the data once I have it? And that's the whole premise behind Lucro, is to not only give you the data, but more importantly, what do you do with the data to scale, to grow, to get to the next level?
And that's what the key difference is right there. You just said it. Give you the data, which a lot of people do. They'll file your taxes. They'll give you a report once a month. But the strategy is what you pay for, right? Because it's all about, well, hey, we got the data, but what do we actually do with this stuff over here? So from your perspective, you've seen under the hood on a lot of these different organizations, your business, your clients' businesses, from the financial side, right? You're seeing like behind the scenes, the things people don't want to talk about, right? What do you think the biggest gaps are? There's a lot of stuff on the P&L, right? A lot of different areas people can allocate cash, balance sheets, all that stuff. What are some of those common gaps that you're seeing?
Yeah. We really identified 3 main gaps that most doctors are missing in areas. All right. Number one bottleneck for most all companies to scale is team. They don't have enough team members, or they don't have good enough team members. Typically, it's the second one. They're not doing a good job just training, reinvesting back into their team. And because that's really, we are in a service-based profession. And so we're not selling a tangible product. We're in person, brick and mortar, selling a service. Humans are by far and away the number one resource. That's the most important. That's why I say it's called HR for a reason, human resources. And people need to shift their mindset that team members, aren't bank draining liabilities and frustrating expenses. They're income producing assets. I would say that's number one. Number two, I would say, is structural framework of growth. Most doctors, everything lies back on them. They're the head of sales, they're the head of marketing, they're the head of operations, they're the head doctor, they're the head of IT. If the toilet breaks, if the alarm goes off at night, they got to do all of that. So they don't have proper structure to delegate and scale, and they don't have proper KPIs and accountability, in a framework to go and get scale to the next level. And then the third one, you're going to love, is definitely marketing. By far and away, doctors just don't understand how much they're able to spend on marketing and still be very, very profitable. If you invest $1,000 in the stock market and at the end of the year it turns into $1,500, if you do that year over year, you would literally be smarter than Warren Buffett if you got a 50% return on your money every single year. But doctors all the time tell me, I spent $1,000 on marketing. I only signed up, 3 new patients. And I'm like, well, how much is every new patient worth? Let's say $2,000. They spent $1,000. They made $6,000. Let's just say for easy math, they have a profit margin of 33%. Then they spent 1,000, made 2,000. These are like bare minimum, bottom of the barrel, worst case scenario numbers. Is they double their money and they did twice as good as the smartest stock investor in the world, right? But most doctors are getting 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10x return on their marketing. They're just A, not tracking it, or B, they've been told, hey, if you're not getting 10x, 11x, it's not working. And that's just not the case. It's all about a function of understanding the lifetime value of your customers, as well as the capacity of your clinic. So those are all things that we track very intimately from my own clinic, and then also help doctors understand as well how much can they spend and still be very profitable. And then if their office schedule is not filled, then they're losing money, because whether you have 100% full schedule or a 50% full schedule, your rent stays the same, your internet bill stays the same, most all of your overheads, your staff, name pretty much every single bill in your clinic. 100% new patient schedule is filled, 50% new patient schedule is filled. Expenses are literally not changing. What is being negatively impacted is obviously revenue and profit.
So true. Just racing against the fixed overhead every single month. That's why you keep it in the beginning to 1,800 square feet too, folks. Another good lesson there, all embedded in all of that, right? That's excellent. So it comes down to team, structural framework for delegation, and really marketing, and just not understanding proper LTVs, lifetime values of patients, and just having the long-term vision for it. And so within your consulting work, you do with clients on the accounting side, you provide the data and then also kind of the action items. How is that typically like in terms of delivery? Are you meeting with these clients and having one-on-ones? Are they getting reports weekly? I mean, these guys are going to wonder that.
Yeah, great question. And so what we do is we actually take over their books. So we take over as their bookkeeper. Most people, are only getting their bookkeeping done in time for taxes, or maybe it's months behind, and there's no real utility of what to do with the data. People that have their P&L, their balance sheet, was like, well, so what? What do I do with it? What does this mean? And so we do all the categorization, not months behind, not just in time for taxes, every single month. By the 10th of the month, all of your books are done. And in addition to that, we deliver a report of all of your data and then what you should do with the data. Hey, based on your current revenue and what we've coined the perfect P&L, how much you should spend on marketing, team, overhead, products, all these different areas of your business, what's working, what's not working, and then what is the number one priority or bottleneck that you need to focus on in the next 30 days that's going to have the single largest impact on driving revenue and profitability. And so we're only $450 a month, $375 a month if you pay annually. And so what I like to say is we're the same cost or less for what we provide. Everyone else is providing the same thing, but they're only providing 5% of the value for the same cost. And so we're providing, 95% more value for the same or less cost than you're already paying. Because like I said, it doesn't matter if you have all the data in the world, if you don't do anything with it, or you don't know what to do with it. The entire premise is, one, having the correct data timely, and number two, most importantly, taking action.
There's 1,000 different actions that all business owners can do every single day, but most of them don't mean shit, right, guys? True. Right?
What I tell doctors all the time is they let the urgent overtake the important. And they have death by 1,000 paper cuts, because they're doing all these little minor things that seem important in the moment, but they have such little impact on bottom line. And so that's where you need that consistent feedback of what is the number one priority that needs to be focused on in the next 30 days. That's going to have the largest impact, on the business. Even on a daily basis, you need to always have that singular main focus, as running a business. And that's where it comes back into that structural component. Like I said, the number two biggest thing that I found to be successful is what is that consistent rhythm of feedback? What are your business's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and challenges? And then how do you lay out goals to move forward and continually grow?
A little bit of business 101 there, the classic SWOT analysis with a challenge. Yeah. I love that, dude. That's a great exercise that, I even from my own notes in my head mentally, I'm like, man, I don't do that one enough, That's exceptional. And so for you guys listening, for a pretty trivial fee, relatively trivial, he shared his numbers live on the show here, folks, like you can get damn good work for cheap, right? mean, some of you guys are spending that shit on that much a month on coffee every month, for Christ's sake, right? So it's just like no joke, right? So, I mean, that's just absolutely tremendous. And so you've got the hindsight on building the clinic to a large size. You've got the accounting firm. Like, what's next for you, man? Like, where's the vision? Is it to go all in on more of the accounting side? Is it to do both at a high level? I mean, where are you taking this?
Yeah, my reason I actually even got into this was a bigger vision for the profession as a whole. Like I said, I've always been totally cool offering doctors, free advice, talking to them, no big deal. I never wanted to start a coaching group or practice management group, but what I really realized is doctors just didn't have the data, go to the next level. And so we really want to be a platform for all coaching companies, all practice management groups, all marketing companies. We want to give the foundational analysis so those marketing companies, those coaching groups, all those different industries or individual clinics know what to do as a next step, and they can dive in deeper to a deeper level to grow and scale at a faster pace. And so the really, really cool thing is about our whole entire program and the way our modeling works is we're going to have aggregate data in just a few months, literally with no paid marketing at all. Have over 150 clients now in just a couple months. And as we continue to scale and scale, we're going to have all the data for the industry. We're going to say, and we're going to know the people that work with this marketing company get X better ROI than this marketing company. We're going to know people that work with this coaching group, 37% more profitability than people that use this company, people that utilize this EHR, people that practice this technique, insurance versus cash versus different techniques versus different modalities, all these different things. We're going to know all of those based on their bookkeeping. And so we're going to have huge industry data, what's working, what's not working. Like I said, everything can be modeled after my clinic right now, which is going to do phenomenal, over $6 million this year. But as we continue to grow and scale, we're going to have more and more industry insights into the profession to help propel the profession, to the next level.
The data controls it all, right? You have hindsight's everything, 2020. It's exceptional. Absolutely exceptional. One thing we haven't talked a ton about, and I would love to, and we probably don't want to get too much into this today, but I'd love to at some point have another conversation with you on the show, not only because you add a lot of value, but I think there's a lot of people too that would like to hear a little bit of defense as well, talking about some tax strategies that they can be leveraging. And because I know you guys all assist with that stuff as well. On our first call, you shared a lot of ideas with me personally, and there's different tax strategies. And so I'd love to dig deeper into that. I want to finish as I usually do with one main question, and I'm really, really curious on your answer here. This is kind of an on-the-spot question. So it's a hypothetical. You wake up tomorrow, and you've lost everything. You have no cash. You have no employees. You have no clients. But you do have all the exact same skills that you have today. But you do not have resources. You don't have partners. You don't have anything. But you have your brain. That's all you have left. What are you going to do over the next 30 days to build back as much as you possibly can to where you are today?
Yeah, it's a great question. One of the key concepts I talk a lot about is who, not how. It's a great book if you haven't read it, by Dan Sullivan. And that really concept has really helped me think about things differently. Instead of how do I do something, who do I need to accomplish? And so I really feel that I would want to flip the script with myself, as that who, and who, could I add the most value to? Who could I have the biggest impact, in the next 30 days that would add the most value, that would then give me, the money in my pocket, the income that I want, to continue with that venture, or to then have the capital to go down another path. And so really just exact same philosophy and mindset that I've tried to take with that structural plan, and just reverse engineer with myself, as the who, to help someone else scale, accomplish, their goals, and therefore as a result, me benefit and accomplish my own goals in return.
So you're just to dissect that, because that's such a great answer. I love that. You would actually figure out you already know, you'd become aware because you still had your brain of your unfair advantages and how you add value to businesses, and you would show up in businesses and add that value in exchange, get some return, get some of the pot, and then just basically then build from there.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, human resources are the number one resource in the world, and I'd use myself, as a resource to other people. And I think there's no better thing you can have than a high quality performer. And so I would just provide that value to someone else, until I'm able to get to a certain level where maybe I want to go on my own, see where it takes me from there. But that's definitely the starting point.
I think that's absolutely great. I was equally excited to ask you this question, mostly because I was curious, because that's such a good answer, and I expected nothing less from you. But I did wonder if you were going to tell me that you would go back to those spinal screenings that you started with.
Well, I mean, I do need a few bucks to buy even things. I was thinking no money.
That's fair. That's
Couldn't even
fair. No,
afford, couldn't even buy myself into a $5 farmer's market.
I think that's great. No, that's elegant, man. Show up and add value. That's the whole world nowadays. You gave it all today. Where can people find you, man? They like what you say. I mean, I think that kind of reframing here, I think that we're going to have a little bit of a preferred relationship together, as I've seen the work you guys do. But where can people find you that listen to the show?
Yeah, morelucro.com is our website. Lucro means profit in Italian, and that's our entire goal, is to make more profit for all doctors and chiropractors and help them expand their business. Definitely would recommend booking a free strategy call with us so you can understand exactly what's going on with your numbers, how you can scale, how you can get to the next level. Like I said, we shouldn't be any additional cost. You're either already paying for bookkeeping that's not as good a quality and not as as timely without the action steps, or your wife, you, or your niece is doing it when they shouldn't. And so that's kind of how I view us, is we're a cost neutral. We shouldn't be any additional cost for anybody, but we're going to provide 100 times more value for the exact same cost or less.
Guys, you know what to do. You guys got value, first and foremost. Head on over, book a call with the team. He can add a lot of value to you. And as usual, grow organically. So anyone who needs to know their numbers a little bit more, feel free to hit that share button, send it over to a colleague, a family member. It doesn't have to be, it can be inside and outside of chiropractic, right? So pay the fee forward. That's how we grow. Dr. Josiah, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you, my man. I'll look forward to having another conversation with you on the Clinic Grow Secret Show in the future. Maybe we'll dive into a little bit more defensive strategy on the tax side if you're open to something like that.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me.
Absolute pleasure. Guys, pay it forward, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheers.